Hello, hi! Today I am going to share my process of how I go about creating storyboards, animatics, all that jazz. So there's many shots you can do. You got your long shots, medium shots, and your close-ups. Okay, that might be a bit too close. Do you want the camera to look up to your character and make them seem intimidating and scary? Oh no! Or do you want to make them look
weak and pathetic?
Basically, what I'm saying is that the layout for your shot is endless. And because of that, it can be very difficult, since there's just so many options. For the following examples, I shall be using my own series for how I go about deciding how to choose a composition for my shots. Minor spoilers included. Long shots. Let's start off with long shots. I like to use extreme long shots for establishing a setting that a character is in, or to show where the characters are within that setting. For an example, in the beginning of episode 3, there's a medium long shot that pans down from the sky to the main character Eren. I also draw another long shot in this scene that zooms out to reveal a character. I do the opposite of this during episode 1, where I reveal part of the character first and then zoom in. I use a long shot with a top-down perspective to show the scale of these two characters and the city, which has a name for those wondering. I just cannot say at this point in time. Moving on, here I use a long shot that turns into a close-up when Hoshi finds something he was looking for and walks towards the camera. You get to see the expression and body language of both characters. This makes things more visually interesting. I like to use long shots to compare scale and perspective. For an example, in episode 3, I over-exaggerate the scale when Hoshi first encounters this mysterious spooky creature by making him look tiny to visually show the threat that the monster is. This also makes Hoshi look like an insect compared to it. I have the camera here to look down on Hoshi to show how weak and powerless he feels, and have the camera look up at the monster to show how it has power and strength over him. We will come back to this whole camera mumbo jumbo soon. I will draw more of a top-down perspective long shot. Like if I want to showcase all three characters' interactions here and the environment they are walking into, like little background details that will help bring the world around to life, like this door that is falling off. There's debris and moss everywhere, even though you can't see it since it's a rough storyboard sketch. That implies that the city is old and unattended since it's abandoned, and the cracks and debris show that some destructive event may have happened in the past. Medium shots. Next is medium shots, which I like using more for character conversations, to show body and facial expressions. Here, to reveal Hoshi's confusion, I have his back facing us, so we have no clue how he will respond to Cassidy's statement. I also shovel Cassidy into the foreground as she's talking to avoid the shot feeling empty. I use a medium shot here to showcase the facial and body expressions of the three characters to the viewer. We can see that Hoshi here is both confused and offended. Cassidy's body details as she's clinging onto Hoshi. It's not outright stated, but it's there. Like another body and language detail that I have done with Eren and Hoshi on multiple occasions, that will get touched upon in later episodes of the series. In this shot in particular, I only wanted to showcase Eren's facial expressions and reactions, hence the close-up shot of them. For this shot, I wanted to show Eren physically begging for forgiveness, and Hoshi thinking about his life choices before smacking Eren on the head as payback. So to showcase all these things, a medium shot was perfect. A close-up would be too cramped and a long shot would be too far away. Well, a long shot could work if a scene talks about like how empty the city is, for an example. Or perhaps they could be being spied on in the distance, so I want to zoom out and show this mysterious character spying on them. That's just an example. But a medium shot was perfect for what I wanted to convey in the shot. An example of a medium shot of the camera angles we touched on, in episode 3, Hoshi has a hallucination. Why is reading aloud so hard? Hoshi has a hallucination of his sister, or what his brain remembers and thinks of her. An example, in most of the idle shots we see of her, she's always looking down at him. In this shot, even though she's reaching out to help her brother, Hoshi interprets this as her literally looking down on him, that she's mocking him, after all these unforgivable mistakes he has made. Even though he recognises her softer side at first, his brain distorts this as someone who's only fierce and more stronger and worthy than he is, and portrays that fear as anger and hatred to protect himself. Close-ups. Finally, close-ups, which I love using to emphasise emotion or add intensity and impact to a scene. Close-ups for me tend to show off reaction and small details I want the viewer to know that will be important later, like this one shot of Hoshi getting some chewing gum. Yes, that is a hint to something. During this scene where Hoshi finds Eren's unconscious body, notice how Eren is turned away. I've done this to make the scene feel more uneasy, like the fear of the unknown. We have no idea what Eren's face is going to be like, and the more you think about it, the more unsettling as it can be as your brain tries to fill in the blanks, as we get the reveal of their face, being taken over by the monster seen before. In this shot, Eren gets approached by this creature from earlier. They turn around to look at it and we only see their reaction, and the scene emphasises their eye, which is an indicator that Eren is internally taken over from the monster's power, and is a hint on how to defeat the monster overall. You'll find out more about the monster's power in the full episode. Due to this close-up on Eren's face, we have no idea what's going to happen next, we can only judge from the reaction. I really like this shot a lot. As I mentioned, I love using close-ups to show intensity. This scene in particular starts off extremely peacefully. This girl wants to ask Aaron something. In the final scene, the music will cut off when we see the shot of the fountain, only hearing water. And a little note that I learned from a certain horror anime is that if you want a character to seem very off, make them look uncanny and a tad off model. For this sort of thing, extreme close-ups are perfect. In this scene, the little girl's lips seem more realistic than they were before, as she says the lines that Aaron dreads when we reveal the girl's full expression. I hope I achieved that very unsettling vibe. This scene in particular shows off Aaron's anxiety as they know what's coming, and they know how this all ends. In this shot, we can see there's something really off about this previously adorable little child, and every line she speaks, the more closer the camera is to her face. Getting too close for comfort. To bring impact to the next shot, I hide the girl's expression to intentionally bring more of a shock factor to our very crazy off-model expressions in the next shot. These are meant to be unsettling, as this is how Aaron's anxiety twists and turns and sees this horrible experience that they've been through, when in reality it would have played out much more differently. In this close-up, Aaron realises that they can't seem to let go and move on from this traumatic experience that they've been through, and so there's nothing physically to be said, except their facial expression. So remember how I was saying that the camera always looks up to Hoshi's sister to show how much he fears her? Well, in this close-up, we actually look down on her and up at Hoshi. Not only due to him being held up in a chokehold, but because when Hoshi's sister reveals what he thinks is what she really thinks of him, Hoshi thinks this before strong and proud person got broken down and weakened due to the consequences of his actions. An example of an extreme close-up is when Aaron turns around to look at this fountain. The fact that it gets startled by something so peaceful can link them to having a bad experience related to this environment. I messed around with the angle of the composition for dramatic effect and to make it more visually interesting. Overall advice. Be sure to use more fancy perspective shots sparingly. Sure, they can look cool, but if you use them all the time, they start to lose their impact. Make sure it fits the scene. If a scene revolves around X characters, you have to put yourself in their shoes. What are they thinking? How are they feeling? What do they think of their environment? What do they think of their current situation? And what do they think of other characters, if there's any in the scene? It's kind of like playing pretend. As a creator, and especially as an artist/animator, it's important to know your characters inside and out when you're writing or drawing them, as your characters are a part of you. Of course, I don't always get it right the first time. I always have to go through multiple drafts of scripts and even redo entire scenes of storyboards until I'm satisfied, as I'm still learning and ideas change when I view things with fresh eyes. Choose a shot depending on what you want to express. If you want to have a character interact with their environment, use a longer or a medium shot. You can use a close-up if it's for detail, like Hoshi discovering and picking up Aaron's sketchbook here. If you want a character to feel isolated, a long and empty shot can convey this well. A closer, more cluttered shot could show the character is overwhelmed and stressed. A medium shot is great for conveying body language and facial expressions. A close-up is great for paying attention to an important detail that you want your audience to notice. Even a medium shot can do this, though it's more subtle. Close-ups can be great for showcasing facial expression, building up suspense due to the fear of not knowing what surrounds the character. If you have the camera looking down, it can make something seem small and powerless in the situation, either from the character's point of view or for someone else's. If you have the character looking up, it makes the character or environment appear more threatening. This is commonly used for villains or in general a stronger character. This is all my advice for now. I hope it helps you in one way or another. Until next time.